Hello, fabulous readers of Two Gals in a Book. I'm Stacy, and today I'm lucky enough to be able to interview Barbara Rodgers, author of Run Rabbit Run. And it's a fabulous book about her story. The blurb on the back says, "This is Barbara's story, a story of growing up in a dysfunctional home. Later, promiscuity, divorce, grief, and ultimately extreme mental illness. It encompasses her struggle to overcome bipolar tendencies, irrational fears, deep depression, and anxious thoughts, which had led to countless hospital stays where prominent psychiatrists had given up on their treatment. After Barbara's twin sister passed away in 2013, she thought her life was over. But the Lord was not finished with her yet. He led her to a man who walked with her through her depressed and disturbed mind and eventually guided her into a world she had never known before, a world of light, love, and happiness. It is a story of how Jesus Christ reaches into a person's darkness and offers them hope, peace, and true joy. For Barbara, mental illness is a thing of the past because faith in Christ helped her change her focus and led her into the light." Here's the book. And so I have a few questions for her so we can get to know her better. Thank you for joining me, Barbara.
You're very welcome. Thank you for having me.
Did you always want to be an author?
Well, I think as far as I can remember, especially around 7 or 8, I used to go up to the drugstore and I used to see the books on the shelf, and I used to always imagine my name on one of the books and being a published author. And there was another dream I had, that I wanted to help people. Through this book and through my overcoming all that I've overcome, I feel it can help somebody. And the other wish I had was to marry a wonderful man, and that didn't come till I was 61 years old, but Max finally came into my life, and we are happily married today. And I've always wanted to be an author, yes.
Well, it's great your dreams come true. At what age did you start writing?
Well, when I could hold a pencil, I would draw stick figures. I drew a lot. I drew my own cartoons, stories, things like that, up until I was about, I'd say about 18, 19. And then I got into writing after I got out of high school, around then. And by the time I was 24, I had written a lot of stuff. I had written my own books. They weren't published or anything like that. I'd written fiction. I'd written short stories. I love to write. I could write on buses. I could write in the bathroom. I could write anywhere. But I always had to have my favorite pen.
Oh, I envy you. I've always admired authors.
Thank you.
That creative urge. Do you read a lot?
I used to read as much as I used to because my eyes are kind of going bad. But I was an avid reader at one time. I read everything and had my favorite authors and would get into reading quite a bit. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Do you have any favorite authors?
I've read a lot of Billy Graham. I've read a lot of Norman Vincent Peale. I've read a lot of Corrie ten Boom. Oh yes, I've read a lot of her stuff. And I've on the fiction side, I liked Herbert Lieberman, his version of Crawl Space. I like that. And there's a couple other ones I liked. I liked history, and I liked Louis L. Snyder's book Hitler and Nazism. Believe it or not, that was a book I read in high school, and I liked his style. So I kind of emulated that. I liked that style. So it's reporting style. That's what I did. And I worked in law a while back. I worked in public relations, and I've edited. I've done things like that, written short stories and other things. Thank you.
So yes. You had a good foundation.
Yes, I did.
Wow, and those are some of my favorite genres as well.
Yeah.
Is there anything you are working on now?
I was working on something around Christmas, but sometimes when we write and stuff, we tend not to like it. So after I reread it, I didn't like it. So it was about 50 pages long, and I tore it up and threw it away. But I'm not sorry I did it because it was just a practice run. What I'm getting into more now is short stories. And I'd like to get back into fiction. That I would like to get. Fiction, you play the role of God beautifully. You really do, because you know you decide who lives and dies. You decide who divorces. You decide, and it really is exhilarating writing fiction. That to me is unbelievable.
Oh, well, I look forward to reading some of that.
Thank you.
You're welcome. What ambitions do you have for your writing career?
Well, like I said, the short stories and getting into fiction, that would be my ambitions right now. We have 3 lively dogs in our house and 2 birds and a rabbit. It keeps us quite busy, and I do my household, and in between the writing, and in between I do a lot of reading, and that's pretty much it. So.
Do the animals provide any inspiration for
Oh,
the writing?
sure they do. Sure they do. In fact, the one story I want to make is the new dog we got. Part pit bull and part pointer dog. She's a beautiful big dog, and we love her, and she's really amazing, and I'd like to write about her. And her bonding with Max, she's really bonded with him, and it's beautiful to watch them. They love to toss the ball, and she goes swimming in Bass Lake, and she just loves to dive into the waves. And I'd like to write about that. That's inspiring me.
Oh, that sounds intriguing. Let's see. What is your favorite place to write? Do you have any favorite rituals or atmosphere?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I have to have my little contemporary music radio on very softly. I have a chair that I sit, a recliner that I sit in that kind of rocks a little bit, and I have a soft light behind me. That's got to be on. Then I have, like I said, my favorite pen. When it runs out of ink, it's the end of the world.
It's a crisis.
But I have that pen, and I still save it when it runs out of ink. You know? That thing is an inspiration. But anyway, yeah, I have my own little ritual. Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's good. I've heard a lot of authors say that they do.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, it helps with the flow or whatever. How do you deal with writer's block?
Writer's block is not that big of a deal to me. When I wrote Run Rabbit Run, I had writer's block because, first of all, it was a very painful book to write. The experiences I went through were quite painful, and I didn't believe in it as wholeheartedly as I thought I did. So I started writing, I got about 40 pages or something, and I started having my doubts, and I put it down. I just stopped it. And that's what my husband Max told me. He said, if you don't believe in it, just throw it away. Don't even work on it. Don't go back. I worked on it 6 months at the library because I didn't have a computer at the time. And so I would go every day to the library and work on the book. But anyway, he as he edited it and he helped me with it, he just told me, he said, if you don't believe in it, just put it down. And finally, I read the thing over that I did type, and I finally, yes, I do believe in this wholeheartedly, and I went through with it. Now, writer's block's a little different. That's when you sit down and you just can't think of anything to write about, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And I've had that on occasion, and what I do for that is I back away for a little while. I go 2 or 3 days and just back away and let my mind clear. And then it will start reworking. It will start formulating again, and then I'm back to writing. That's what I do.
Yeah, it takes the time to, helps to get away and get a fresh
Get
perspective.
a fresh perspective on
Yeah.
it, that's right.
It sounds like you struggled with confidence and your ability to tell your story.
Yeah, in the beginning I did. I struggled with confidence. I had no self-esteem, literally. Well, it had to do with the dysfunctional upbringing and, you know, the problems we had at home, which were pretty severe.
Mm-hmm.
And it caused me not to have the confidence in myself that I should have had from the very beginning. And we all should have,
Yeah.
really.
Yeah,
because God made us and we're His creatures and He loves us.
that's
Each
right.
and every one of us.
Absolutely. Well, I'm glad that you got through that. Do you have any advice for aspiring writers?
Yeah, I would think that anybody that is pretty prolific at writing, likes to write, does it as a pastime, sits down and really wants to work on something or write a book, or don't give up. That's my advice to them. There's going to be criticism, there's going to be people that mock you, there's going to be people that say, what are you writing this junk for, and all. But really, in essence, if you believe in yourself and you believe in that book, your baby, it's like a baby. It's like exhilarating, like having a child when you're writing a book. And if you believe in that, you go forward. I knew a man who had 136 rejections, and he posted them. This is in the old days when you sent the book in, mailed it, and all this. They sent it back if they rejected it. All this. Well, he had 136 rejections on his wall, and he would laugh at them. And that one acceptance is what made him
Famous.
a famous author.
Huh.
And don't give up. Keep at it. You believe in it, keep at it. Believe. That's what I say to aspiring writers, yes.
What about dealing with negative criticism or a review or something?
Well, let me give you an example on that. When I was writing a fiction story back when I was about 28 years old, I had a main character, and there was an older guy, and I never put down what he did for a living. I don't know why I didn't put it down, I just didn't. I mean, this was my first really big book that I wrote, you know. It almost got published, but it didn't. Mm-hmm. But anyway, my first husband told me, he says, you know, you got this guy here, you got to put down what he did for a living, you know. Mm-hmm. And the criticism, right away, I took it wrong, I got mad. You know, I was horrible with criticism. I hated it. I didn't want to hear it. I was afraid to show people my stuff because I didn't want to hear this criticism. Well, anyway, he was right. You needed to know what the guy did for a living, you know, so I put something down that was suitable for the story, and it worked out, you know. Mm-hmm. But some criticism, what's right for some isn't right for others. Mm-hmm. So, really, you got to go with what's in your heart. You got to write from the heart. Mm-hmm. What's in here? That's got to be first, regardless of the criticism.
Yes, I agree.
And you can't be afraid of criticism, because some of it might have merit, but some of it won't.
No, and everybody's got a different opinion.
That's right. Mm.
Yeah, so, and you can't make everybody happy.
You can't make everybody happy. You're not going to please the world.
No.
Mm-mm.
Nope.
Mm-mm.
So you got to be happy with yourself.
That's right.
And believe in what you're doing.
And believe in what you're doing. That's right.
Did you have to do any research for Run Rabbit Run?
No, actually, it's all through experiences. But I did have a hard time in the beginning because I had the mental issues, and the as far as when the events happened, I couldn't remember, and my husband Max helped me to put the sequence of events when they happened, and that's what I had the problem with. But once I got started, then it all flowed, and I was able to keep going and get it all. First, I got the thing down on paper. That, to me, writing on paper is number one, and then the library and the constant type, you know. And I did this between chores and with excruciating back pain, because I have a back condition. Mm-hmm. And, you know, I did this trying to be a good housewife, and I did it. And I think anybody can do it anybody can do anything if they put their mind to it.
If
really.
the desire's
If
there.
they have the desire, yes.
Yeah, well, it is truly an incredible, inspiring story, so I'm glad you did.
Thank you.
Uh-huh. What was the most difficult part of writing Run Rabbit Run? Was there anything that you deleted or altered?
We altered in the beginning, the first few pages, Max actually ripped it up and told me to start over, you know. it wasn't gearing toward the glory of God. It wasn't, in the beginning, there was too much negative, the garbage that happened in the past. I mean, we all have our skeletons, we all have our problems, we've all been through it. But if there's no redemption, there's no meaning, there's no purpose. And I had to shift it to the glory of God. And Max helped me in that regard. He helped me right through it. And once I got it, and the publishing house also wanted that more with Jesus Christ and how he came into my life and worked in my life and worked in both of Max and my life. And I think that had to be put in there from the beginning, not just later on.
Right.
So that's where we altered.
Well, it works though. You did a good job.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. So all the situations and scenarios in the book are true?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Too much so, right?
Oh,
You describe a childhood that was very volatile. Do you feel this had a later impact on your choices and outlook?
Oh, most definitely. Most definitely. Both of my parents were neurotic and unstable, and my father did not provide for the family. We ended up losing our house, and he was not a role model, and really neither was she. And we ended up plunging down, and neither one of them were there for us. And my twin and I went through life with a very low self-esteem, and we were berated by my mother. She blamed us for her ill-fated marriage with my father. And that was rugged. And like I said, the choices I made were mistakes because I didn't have the role models. I didn't know how to live. I didn't know how to survive. I was always winding up in the mental ward. And I think some of it was my own doing. I'd make the wrong choices on my own. I mean, we all have to take responsibility for what we do. But when you look back at your childhood, you can see where the nurturing was not there, and it wasn't there for us. And now I have an older sister that got out early. She got married early, and she is still happily married today. God bless her. She's a good lady. But my twin and I had a very difficult time. It's all in Run Rabbit Run, Yeah. And yes, it caused me to make some terrible choices. And my bad attitude and negativity, yes, the dysfunctional home. Because it begins in the home. And if it doesn't start in the home properly, it's not going to carry itself into your adulthood.
Right, right. It's tragic and heartbreaking. In Run Rabbit Run, you tell of a time after your sister died that you quit taking your medications. Why was this done? Was it a conscious choice on your part, out of depression, or were you not able to use sound mental judgment at that time due to grief or mental illness?
Well, I think in the beginning, I was losing it. I was cracking. And I think part of it was because my sister had died, and I just literally gave up. And the depression had gotten me so far down that I stopped eating. I went down to 89 pounds. I was dying.
Oh my.
I was dying literally. By the time Max got me, I was dying. And I just didn't care anymore. And I just stopped everything. It was not only the pills, but eating and living. Her death destroyed me. But now I've moved on, and I know she'd want nothing more but to see me happy. And she's in heaven with Christ because she loved the Lord, and that's what makes me happy.
It's good that you have that comfort.
Oh yes, I'm comforted by it every day.
And it's wonderful. You have such a testimony and miracles to share, what God did for you. At what age did you accept Jesus as your Lord and Savior?
2002, I read the Bible in its entirety, so I'd say about 50, something like that,
Yeah.
around 50. But I did not have the peace yet. I was still neurotically buying things to make me happy. I couldn't get enough of this, home shopping, all this other stuff. I was still not happy with myself, my core.
You were trying to fill a void.
I was trying to fill a void. And it wasn't until I met Max that things started to change, because he made me see, he taught me how to fight. And we all have to be fighters in this world.
Yeah.
We have to have our standards set and live by them.
Yeah.
And that's what I had to do. And because I was not shown as a child, and as I got older, it just got worse.
Right.
The decisions, like you say, they were so bad that it just got worse. So it took me 61 years. So it's never too late.
Thank God for that, right?
It's never too late.
Your story with your husband Max sounds a lot like the Broken Road song. Would you say that everything in your life led you along the path to eventually meet and marry? Do you feel it was divinely inspired?
Definitely. My road was all broken and curved and rocks, and it was all tangled up. Now it's straightened with direction. And I knew Max was the one for me. Now, he lost his wife 6 days before Gia. Gia is my twin sister's nickname. Mary was her name, but Gia was her nickname. That's what I called her.
Right.
But anyway, he lost his wife, and when one of the drivers told me about it, it was like supernatural. I knew he was the one for me. And when we got together and the events that happened, it's all in the book. It was divinely inspired, definitely. God had a hand in it, big hand.
Yeah.
Big hand in it. I finally met the man of my dreams at 61 years old.
Congratulations. Barbara, what mental illnesses were you diagnosed with?
Oh, man. Okay, can we go on? Let's see. At 17, I was termed hopeless, manic depressive. Then it turned into bipolar, which is literally the same thing. Then agoraphobia, then irrational fears, then paranoid, then schizophrenic, then psychotic. I mean, you name it.
It ran the gamut, huh?
Oh my God. They put a lot of labels. Oh man, the doctor said I was permanently disabled. I'd never function again.
Well, God had a different story, didn't
He sure did. He sure did.
Please share a bit of your incredible testimony, if you don't mind.
I'm sorry.
Could you share with us a little bit more of your incredible testimony? Anything that you'd like the audience to know about your story.
Well, I came from the dysfunctional home. My father was a drinker and a dreamer, and he put us into financial ruin. And my mother was a very demanding and cold and hard and difficult person who blamed my twin sister and I for their problems. And I had an older sister, and she was more like a shadow in my life until I got older, and then now we're very close. I mean, I really think the world of her. But anyway, as I got out, I worked and hit the bars, hit the nightlife, and Gia went through her struggles. I think you'll read that in the book. And she almost died in 1974, and it was painful. And I got married twice in my life, well, 3 times, twice to the same man. And then, of course, the mental hospitals and, all the garbage. But I'm over it now.
Thank God.
I am cured. I am cured of mental illness. I am actually cured of it. I don't have it.
Yeah.
Oh, depression, anxiety, fears, we all get that. Everybody gets that. That's life.
Right. Good days, bad days.
You get good days, bad days. Sometimes you feel like throwing in the towel, but you pray about it. You rely on God, and He gets you through it. He'll put people, places, and resources in your life to help soften things, and He does that. And so I really don't need a psychiatrist. Yes, I take medication for balance, but that's it. I don't see a psychiatrist. My family doctor dispenses of it. And I don't see a psychiatrist or social worker or anything like that because I don't feel I need them.
Yeah.
I feel very, very positive about my recovery. It has been complete.
Yeah. You've been delivered from all of that.
I've been delivered from all of that, yeah.
So you credit Jesus Christ with your healing.
Oh, absolutely. When I went to Him for forgiveness and forgiving those who hurt me and forgiving myself, I really felt my communication skills becoming sharper and sharper, and I felt the emotions returning. I was like a dead thing for a while, and emotions were returning. Life was returning inside of me. It's like you read in the Bible how Jesus heals. That's what He did for me. He healed me. I was contrite. I was pure in heart. I wanted forgiveness, and He did it.
Yeah.
He cured me. And with Max's help, oh man, it was wonderful. It was wonderful. He was always there for me. And when I needed Him, He was always there for me, encouraging me and nurturing me and watching me go forward. And He always had faith. He never doubted for an instant that it would turn out right. He knew it.
That's important. That's important to keep that in perspective. There is a light
Yes,
at the end of the tunnel.
There is a light at the end of the tunnel.
What was the inspiration for the rabbit-wolf analogy?
Well, I think that one you'll have to speak with Max about.
Okay.
I think he can tell you that in more detail, but you can see the strength of the wolf helping this little scared bunny to learn how to fight. You know what I mean? To learn how to grow and change and be who she's meant to be, you know. And I think he can answer that better.
I think it was good to help the reader understand your mindset a little bit more.
Yes.
And how fearful you were.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
I had a lot of irrational fears. A lot of fears weighing me down. Oh, yes. It was rough. But it's done. I look back at it, I think, it's done. Now I go forward.
Right.
Live my life.
Absolutely. Has a trailer been made for the book?
Not yet, but we're thinking about it.
No? Okay, I look forward to that. If Run Rabbit Run were ever made into a movie, who would you like to see play the main characters?
If it were ever made in, well, I don't know a lot of the new stars, but I really don't know who. I think I'd let them decide.
Right.
You know what I mean? Let them kind of figure it out.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
it would be interesting if that were made.
It would be to see
It
your
would-
story on the
Yeah.
big screen. Yeah.
It would be interesting.
Is there anything you would like to add that we haven't discussed?
No, not really. I think
We've covered it all.
I've covered pretty much most of it, yeah.
Are there any social media platforms readers could connect with you on?
Facebook, Goodreads, that kind of thing.
Okay. I'll put those links up on the blog
Okay.
so that the readers can just click on it and access it. Alrighty. Well, thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
I think I'd like to speak with your husband for a minute
Sure.
and ask him a couple questions that you've actually referred me to
Sure,
ask him.
sure.
Hello, Max.
How you doing?
I'm just fine. Guys, this is Max Rodgers, Barbara's husband, and he is co-author of the book and plays a part in this incredible story of how he helped his wife in this journey. So, Max, how did you help Barbara do what no doctor could?
I had faith that it could be. When my wife died, I said a simple prayer. And with my simple prayers, I mean, I demanded. I didn't just say, well, whatever, it's up to you. Mine was, who am I going to watch over now? What is my next job? I'd been telling the Lord all along that I was going to do something.
Mm.
And I stopped myself and said, see what he has to say. And I demanded, who?
Mhm.
And
And this is after your wife died, right?
After
The
my
first
wife died.
Yeah.
after she died, because I was like, okay, because I'd taken care of her for 31 years.
That's incredible.
Now, who am I going to take care of?
You needed a mission.
What do you want me to do? Who am I going to take care of?
Yeah.
Then my phone rang, and a friend from work says, Maria needs you. All I could say was, seriously, Lord? Because I never had it that quick.
Right.
And
Instant
but
answer.
Yeah, but at the same time, it was almost like I could see a vision of the future and how it was going to end up and go. And with God, He does something. He doesn't make it worse. He makes it better.
Mm-hmm.
And you've heard the saying, when God closes the door, He opens the window.
Yes.
I disagree with that. I say He opens a bigger door.
He works in mysterious ways, that's for sure.
But that's just the way He does things.
Mhm.
And just because somebody tells me it's so,
Mhm.
in my mind, it's not so.
Right.
Prove it to me.
Mhm.
And I had known Maria, or Barbara, a long time. That's my
Nickname for it.
nickname for her.
Mhm.
But I've known her for a long time, and I've seen it. I've seen her sister. And all I could say is they had never been allowed to become who God had built them to be.
Mhm.
And I felt that.
Mhm.
And when I brought Barbara home,
Mhm.
I just let her become who God had meant her to. I had no expectations what was going to happen. I just lived by faith.
Right.
And that's what I used to tell her. She'd get all upset. I'd say, have a little faith.
Right. Whatever's going to happen is going to be good, right?
Yeah, have a little faith. It's going to go.
So, Barbara wanted me to ask you about the inspiration for the rabbit and wolf analogy.
Well, the wolf is kind of the top of the food chain, and there are no wolves that hang around in the pack, and there's those that hang on the edges, the lone wolves, that watch over the pack, but yet stays away from the pack.
Mhm.
And they're there, but not there.
Mhm.
And that's kind of the way I've always run, because just the way my life went. But a rabbit, they'll run at the heartbeat, and they have no clue where they're going. They just run around circles.
Blindly.
And sometimes a rabbit will get to a point where they'll stand up and fight and chase off, literally confuse and scare away what's been chasing them.
Mhm.
And with Barbara, she used to be so scared of everything. Whenever change start to happen, she'd start to run. That's where her title came out. Run, rabbit, run.
Yeah, yeah.
And which caused her to stop and turn and start to fight.
Mhm. Well, that's good. God used you to help change her life for the better. And, this is wonderful. It's been wonderful meeting you two. And I've enjoyed reading the book, Run, Rabbit, Run. I advise everybody to read it. Who would you recommend to read the book, do you think? Who do you think would enjoy this?
The book was not made for those who feel they have it all together, yet there's something in there for them.
Mhm.
It was meant to help. It was to show that just because somebody says you are just mentally ill, you will never amount to anything, that you can't do something, don't mean you can't. You have got to want it here. You've got to seek it. And as you seek it and ask the Lord for guidance, He'll be right there walking with you, because He's never far away from you.
Right.
We try to pull away from Him, but He doesn't. He kind of, come on back here.
Yeah. And I'm so glad so many times God's opinion is so different than man's. So, Two Gals in a Book would like to thank Barbara and Max Rodgers for sharing their book with us and allowing us to interview them. It has been a true pleasure.
Well, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you,
God
Barbara.
bless you. Thank you.
God bless you, too.
Stacy.
Thank you.
Thank you.